So what do you think about this whole INTP issue, John?
It's quite annoying, honestly. Being one. Not really. I don't care that much. Buy bean chips. They're good for you.
So here's the deal. I'm an INTP, which means that I am traditionally considered socially awkward. And that's the exact reason I decided to make this video. There are a lot of things you can do as an INTP. Specifically, you should be reading books, because as an INTP, you are going to be somebody who needs a lot of information to make decisions. Now, I figured this out the hard way. I tried doing things intuitively without thinking about it and living life reactively, and it did not work. As any introverted thinker or intuitive, you're going to need to take in a lot of information to really understand how to put things together. The way INTPs work is through free association. So what you have to do, observe the world very closely with your extroverted intuition. Ooga booga. Which is it's kind of interesting because extroverted sensing is really what observing is. I don't know how to explain it, but I know that as an INTP, I need to observe the world and stay physically active and basically do things that aren't considered INTP. Back to this book, Balance by Matthew Syed. There are so many important ideas in this book, especially for INTPs. Maybe the most important idea is the idea of a fixed mindset. What they found is that people with fixed mindsets who thought their abilities were innate and whoever they were is who they are now, is who they're always going to be, they always got stuck staying who they are because they never tried to do anything. When it comes to mathematics or any skill, everything is a skill. They did studies on mathematics and found that people who had been working at cashiers for 15 years were better at math than so-called child math prodigies, just because they had so much practice getting used to counting numbers and counting change. And the point is, everything is a skill. And who you are today does not dictate who you are tomorrow. One thing about INTPs is that we don't like to be structured. Like, I did not plan this video at all before I did it. I literally just turned on the camera and started talking. And that's what I've noticed too. When I look at other INTPs here on YouTube, I don't see any evidence of structure. Whereas in direct opposition, when I see INTJs or INFJs or ENTJs on YouTube talking about their personalities, it's clear that they've put some thought into what they're going to say before they start the video. Especially ENTJs with their extroverted thinking, you know. It's pretty unnatural for INTPs, I think, to say things in an extroverted manner because we're always up here, you know, we're never down here. And I can tell you, as an INTP, you really need to stay active or else you're going to not go down a path that you want in life. I'll just say that right now. Another important thing to grasp about INTPs, when we're young, we tend to be more awkward and in our heads and aloof than other types like ESFJs that are more in their body and it's all about being social. Remember high school, right? Or if you were homeschooled, I guess not. But in high school, you may have noticed that there were the groups, like the people who were really social and they played sports. You know, those tend to be extroverted, sensing, perceiving types more often, while the introverted, intuitive, judging and perceiving types tend to be less athletic, and we tend to be more academic or more observant of the world or in our heads. ENTJs are probably in that category as well. More thinking than doing. You should always be focused on balancing yourself to some extent. Of course, you need to know what your strengths are, because confidence comes from knowing what's true, and knowing your strengths and weaknesses will make you more confident, and you will know, oh, okay, that's why that's the case, and you won't have to worry about that. Like, for example, I always wondered why I didn't feel like it was natural for me to jump in social groups. Well, it's just because I'm an INTP. Oh my God. Oh, here's one more thing. Labels. The thing about labels is when you label something, it affects your top-down cognition. Like in your consciousness, you can't be aware of anything or act on it in a deliberate manner without being conscious about it. So if you're not aware of yourself, you'll let labels affect you. Like, for example, I supposedly have Asperger's, but that doesn't mean anything by itself. What it really means is that I have a specific way of processing information. And a lot of people might mistake it and think like of the stereotypical autistic child who doesn't interact with the world and is really off in their head and not social at all. Clearly, I'm not that kind of person. And that's because I got out of the matrix, so to speak. I don't live in a state of reaction. I live in a state of proactivity. And I understand that, oh, hey, that's not how the world works. The world is the story that I tell myself. And just the same for you, the story that you tell yourself is going to determine who you are. You know, your self-worth. If you think you're worth it, then you're going to act like it and you will be worth it. If you don't think you're worth it, you're not going to act like it and you're not going to be worth it. But not because you're not actually worth it, just because you don't believe you're worth it. See what I'm saying? So I'll leave you with the points. As an INTP, you need to read a lot of books, okay? A lot of books. You need to develop your weaknesses strategically. So if you feel like there's something in your life that is missing, it's important to go experience it and get a lot of hours under your belt of proactive, deliberate experience. Because without experience, you're not going to understand what it is that means. Each personality type has 8. We all have 8 main categories, introverted sensing, extroverted sensing, introverted thinking, extroverted thinking, and so on. Well, those 4 that aren't in our top 4, those 4, we need to at least develop those enough to understand them, like develop extroverted thinking, like which I'm doing right now. And let's see, extroverted sensing, is that right? I don't know the exact details of INTP. I just know who I am, and that's where I'm talking from. And other than books and developing your weaknesses, you need to stay really active. So those 3 things, if I had 3 tips to give anyone who's an INTP, those 3 things. I will catch you next time I randomly feel like doing a video, because that's how INTPs work. Or is it? Or is it?